Hi, this is Hank here with Hankfittraining. This is my first video interview with Adam Nugent-Hopkins. He's a strength and conditioning coach out here in Burnaby, British Columbia. So how did you get into strength and conditioning?
Kind of by accident, really. Always had an interest in training ever since I was really 8 years old. My dad would write up workouts for us to do when we were kids. Obviously Ryan was a little later, we're 5 years apart. So when I was 8, 9 years old, he'd have me do things like running around the block or running up and down stairs, push-ups. We had light little weights that we'd use now and then, but he always had kind of like a training regimen we did. I didn't always stick to it. Let's say puberty hit me like a ton of bricks, so it wasn't the best time for me physically, let's say, and probably not mentally either, but I always knew I had a passion for it, and I played hockey at a high level all my life. So as I got older and I got closer to the end of hockey, I found that I was enjoying the training side of things more than the hockey side of things almost. And I mean, that could have been a combination of lack of fire for hockey and just training was something new, and it was there, like it was something cool. So I kind of got involved. I started going to school for it, exercise science, and while I was doing that, I was coaching teams, like working with a bantam team, my brother's team, when I was 19, and I've kind of just always continued on. And I never really thought anything of it like a career in strength and conditioning or whatever you want to call it, personal training, coaching. It kind of just evolved into that. And it's been almost 11 years now, and it's been an ever evolving process in one direction or the other.
Who or what's been one of your biggest inspirations?
I don't know if there's any one person that's been like an inspiration for me when it comes to strength and conditioning. As much as you want me to say it's you, Hank, no, sorry. I mean, you're a great dude, and I'm liking what you're doing. And so in that stand, you are an inspiration, right? But you were my sole inspiration, Hank. But it's been like a lot of people. I don't know if there's been, as I just said, I don't think there's anyone who inspired me to get into strength and conditioning per se. I think that kind of came from within, but my family has always been an inspiration to me through love and support, just to try and do the best that I can. And they never really sugarcoated anything for me either, though. So it wasn't like, oh, you're so wonderful. It was like if you were doing something wrong, or or if things weren't what they should have been or how I should be doing it, they let me know. And it wasn't a gumdrop fairy tale. It was reality. And I think, at times it was a little bit hard being younger and kind of like trying to develop who you are, but it was important. There was adversity, and my family supported me, but they always kept me in line, and then made sure that I understood that it was not going to come easy, and that there are negatives to everything, and you got to overcome those in one way or another. And when it comes to role models within the field, who are people who have taken me under their wing, guys like a guy like Kevin Ziegler, who's out of Minneapolis, was a great inspiration for me in that standpoint, that he showed me the way of how to coach and treat kids and deal with clients, and just being part of his family has opened up so many doors. And Cal Dietz, same thing, brilliant man, unbelievably intelligent. He's out of the University of Minnesota. Him sharing his knowledge and teaching me things that a lot of people are very closed off about, and just being accepted into their family has been something that I think has been an inspiration in the career standpoint. But when it comes down to it, there was never really anybody who just inspired me to be this. I didn't see somebody out there oh my gosh, I want to be that person. I think it's just something that evolved, and with Ryan being who he is as an athlete, I thought it would be kind of neat if I could help him out at the same time, if he wanted my help and if I was qualified to help him. So that was a little bit of a push in the right direction too. But yeah, overall, I guess we could say Hank, you are the biggest inspiration.
Can you talk about that? I know you told me this about when you were younger, how your family didn't have much money, and how just kind of how that whole process of childhood growing up kind of made who you are.
Yeah, I mean, we had it a lot better than a lot of people. Like, we were able to play sports at a very high level. So let's be honest, like, that's not a cheap endeavor. But we definitely had help along the way from different family members and different people that were very generous in supporting our athletic endeavors. You know, things happen in life. It wasn't always butterflies and roses, right? You know, my dad ended up getting sick at some point with cancer, and that means you can't work. So things become a little harder, especially when my parents are divorced and single parents, both working, trying to support us. When one becomes like unable to work, it makes things more challenging for sure. But they both did everything they could to make our lives as comfortable and as great as it was. Like, I wouldn't trade any of it for the world at this point. Like, all those things, all those little hardships that we call hardships in the West, I think they were very important in kind of showing me what is out there and what I'm capable of, and a little bit more of like the real world reality, right? By no means have I suffered in any way. Like, if you really want to talk about suffering, like, everybody goes through hardships, everybody goes through devastation at some point in their life. But yeah, like, there's always somebody worse off. And like, you know, one of those things with us was just, it wasn't that we were impoverished, it was just things were a little more difficult for our family, especially in our situation. And with my dad getting sick, it was tough at times, for sure.
What's one of the hardest moments in your life?
Hardest moments in my life? Like, when you first find out someone in your family is ill, like that's always hard. Like, that, I don't know if that would be the hardest moment in my life to this point. At that time it would have been, but he beat it. He's healthy, he's living a healthy life, he's doing great now. I'd say losing my grandparents. Like, when my grandma passed, another person who ended up getting cancer, she, you know, fought for as long as she could, but I was like, sorry, not my grandparents, my grandma, she passed, and that was hard. That was very hard. And before that, my grandpa, and that was the same thing, very hard too. Very close to both of them, and losing them was definitely hard. And there's not a day that doesn't go by where something reminds me of it. And I mean, other little things, like when you're a kid and your parents are splitting up, like, that's hard. When Ryan actually left home at 16, like, that was hard. Like, he was, you know, that was kind of a defining moment that I was only going to see him for a few months of the year moving forward, and kind of knowing that was pretty difficult to swallow at times, because he's your brother, and we fought like cats and dogs at times, and I'm sure I was a dick to him at times too, but well, I know I was, and he probably attests to that. But you know, he's still your little brother, and you still want to spend as much time as you can with him, and see how he's doing. But it's just the way of life. I would never say that. I don't think there was one specific hardship where I was like, oh my gosh, like this and that. And personally, you know, I've endured failures. Sports, who cares? Like, you gotta move on. You know, maybe if I did things a little differently, or if I was given some different opportunities, things could have worked out differently. But that's the same. Anybody can say the same thing. So,
what was your relationship with your grandparents, and how does that play to your minds and your daily action from your minds?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just little things like I saw my grandpa a lot. He'd come over almost every weekend for dinner. And my grandma, she lived on the island, but I talked to her twice a week, probably, like always every Sunday. And then once during the week. And when I moved away from home, I definitely kept in contact with her more so, because at that point I think my grandpa was in the hospital or sick. So it's just the little things, you know what I mean? Like just things that you remember as a kid with your grandparents. I'm sure everybody can relate to something like that, where they have some person in their life where they relate something like, you see something that comes back to you, right? So nothing crazy, just little things, and kind of makes you feel good that you had those experiences.
And what's your one big life advice to anybody?
My one big, sorry?
Life advice.
Life advice?
Yeah.
Get a Hank Fit t-shirt. Is probably the biggest one. No, biggest life advice. That's a tough one, Hank. That's tough because I'm very wise and I'd like to tell you. No, there's I would just say, like, be positive. I mean, it's such a cliche thing to say, but keep a positive mindset. And like, there's going to be a lot of things out there. I mean, if you keep taking all the external forces and external energies that's coming your way, especially in today's world where we're so like hammered on with negative media and like social media and everything like that, it's pretty easy to get discouraged at times or think that the grass is always greener on the other side. But it's not. Like, you know, if you're capable of, you're smiling here, but if you're capable of, like, you know, if you're healthy and you're able to function normally, right, then you've already like beat the odds from that standpoint. Now it's just up to you to control your effort and your attitude and to be positive, because that's all you can control. Like, you can't control anything else outside of your effort and your attitude and how you treat people. So being positive and treating people the right way and trying to give an honest effort is probably as cliche as it comes, but that would be my advice to someone. Maybe if you gave me a little heads up on what you're going to ask, I would have thought of something a little less cliche, but yeah, that's where I would be with that.
Is there anything else that you want to kind of say, or, you know,
to share?
To share anything like that?
Just like to your Hank Fit crew, like the people of the fitness world, like just believe in what you're doing. There's a whole lot of different theories and a whole lot of different ideas out there. Yes. I mean, obviously I have my opinions and you have your opinions. But just take it for what it is and make whatever you're doing yours. And enjoy it while you're doing it, because it's a pretty fun thing that people like us get to do. You know, it's not a hard job to say the least. And it's, just enjoy it. Just run with it. And then of course buy a Hank Fit t-shirt.